Costco added the Arcade1Up Pac-Man XL Arcade to their inventory. I've seen it in person, and that created quite the dilemma. Wouldn't it be great to own an arcade? Well, reality set in. It's $629.99. That's well beyond the holiday budget. That's where this little gaming gadget enters the picture. The Arcade1Up Pacman HDMI Game Console was only $25 at Amazon. However, it's not just Pac-Man. Right on the console it says Pacman Collection. Dig Dug, Galaga 88, Rolling Thunder, Dragon Spirit, and more? This is similar to the arcade collection, but much more economical. So here's the box. This is such a great gift idea. Maybe you know someone into retro games where you want to get them a very special gift, but you don't want to spend a lot of money. Although you might want to add batteries, as those are not included. The package contents are a controller, an HDMI cable, a USB cable for power, an instructions booklet, and the Pacman Collection console. The setup is really easy. I just attached it to my TV with an HDMI cable, and I plugged in the power cable. If you're looking for a low-fuss way to play Pac-Man, this is a great solution. So, starting with the first game on the list, it's Pac-Mania. Originally launched back in 1987, Ronald Reagan was still president, and Back to the Future Part 2 hadn't even released yet. In other words, it was a world still struggling with 3D graphics. Pac-Mania tries to add a new dimension to the original, as Pac-Man can jump in Pac-Mania. A lot of the classic elements are included too, like cutscenes and the side doors. It's wild how the game wraps around like that, revealing some additional artwork in the space between the maze. What do you think? Do you prefer the non-scrolling original? Well, that's something to consider while Dig Dug is loaded up. This game is so much fun. It's somewhat similar to Pac-Man. But Dig Dug has a destructible environment. You can dig long tunnels and drop rocks on the enemies. I remember in the early 1990s how Mortal Kombat was considered to be too violent. But just look at this game. You throw a spear at the enemy, then pump it full of air until it explodes. If Dig Dug was higher resolution, would 1980s parents stop their kids from playing it? But seriously, there was such creativity in gaming back then. Even though video game technology was quite limited back in 1982, this game is brilliant. Decades later, it's still fun trying to drop a boulder on as many enemies as possible. Going back to Pac-Man, the third game on this list is the original. Other than the select and start buttons, Pac-Man doesn't use any buttons. It's all about the control pad. Up, down, left, and right. So, I suppose this is a good opportunity to discuss the controller. I've seen lots of criticism about the quality. The controller certainly does feel lighter and less durable than usual. The Pac-Man sticker is also a focus of complaint. Yet, I wasn't too worried about that. I'm not expecting to play these games a lot. That's why I'm glad I got this cheaper version. It's more about occasional nostalgia. I think the 1980s was the best decade in American history. Pop culture is part of the reason. But is that true? This little game console does a good job of portraying the past. And even though game tech has advanced dramatically, Pac-Man still holds up. That's why Mappy is an interesting part of this collection. I'm not sure if I ever played this game before, and playing it now, I don't really like it. Apparently the main character is a cop mouse, and criminal cats. Even back in the 1980s, watching Tom and Jerry cartoons, I liked the cat more. The fifth game on the list is similar. I don't remember playing Rally X in the arcades. I do remember playing a lot of Spy Hunter though. Oh, did I say Rally X? This is new Rally X. even though it was launched in 1981. Spy Hunter is newer. I'm not sure why games like Pac-Man, Dig Dug, and Spy Hunter aged better. It's not nostalgia. I didn't play Mappy or Rally X when they were new. But Galaga, I played that. Back in the early 1980s, power-ups were not as common as they are today. That's what makes Galaga special. While similar to Space Invaders, one of the most popular video games of all time, Galaga has a surprising way to double firepower. First, you have to let your ship get captured. Looking back, that's quite disturbing. Imagine being taken by a hostile alien force. They're giant bugs. Clearly, this is not a good thing, as the captured ship changes color. That's how video games showed distress back in the early 80s. Yet, if you can free the ship, now two fighters can combat the swarm of attackers. Power-ups were tougher back in the day, as this game has one of the cruelest ways to end. If your ship gets captured, but there are none in reserve, then that's it. Game over. Next up is Rolling Thunder. It's one of the main reasons why I enjoy this collection. This game was amazing back in 1986. I think it still holds up today, yet the difficulty is extreme. This game is not easy. There's a life bar, but that's misleading. If the guy gets shot, he's dead. And if he so much as touches one of the masked enemies, half of the hit bar is gone. That makes it extremely challenging to save the girl, which is something I haven't done in the arcades. Perhaps now that I have this game at home, I might actually finish the game one day. Galaga 88 is also another arcade game with an ending. Not only does it have an ending, it has multiple different endings. That depends on collecting these blue things, which warps the ship to another dimension. That's another nice thing about Galaga 88. The ship can be upgraded to level 3, which makes short work of the bonus stages. I remember when I first saw this game as an arcade. It was cool. That's not how I felt about Xevious. And initially, I was not excited about Super Xevious being included in the collection. This game is difficult. The sound effects are not my favorite either. Yet there are some nice features. The game scrolls, which creates a sense of exploration. And there are two types of targets, either ground or air. But also, look at this boss battle. Perhaps that doesn't seem as impressive today, but Xevious paved the way for future games. Dragon Spirit is one of those games. Wow, I remember playing this arcade game. The gameplay is quite similar to Xevious, except the main difference is the fantasy theme. Oh, and the power-ups are awesome! The problem is that they can be quickly lost. And since this is the last game on the list, I probably should mention my own power-up. There were two questions I was looking to answer about the Pac-Man collection. The first, could I customize the settings? Well, if that is possible, I'm not seeing how to do it. Most of these games are vertically orientated, so I was disappointed that there wasn't an orientation setting. I didn't see any cool features like customizing the dip switches, enabling Turbo Pac-Man, or using save game states. But I was able to use the two USB ports to pull off a cool trick. You might have noticed the turbo shooting. That's because my 8-bit Do Pro 2 controller is connected to the Pacman Collection console. When in X mode, the controller kinda works. The left thumbstick is used for direction. The left and right shoulder buttons are used for select and start. And the two bottom buttons worked as expected. Except there was one major problem. Unfortunately, I couldn't select a game with the 8-bit Do Pro 2 controller. The D-pad didn't work. I even tried using my SteelSeries Nimbus Plus controller, but that didn't solve the problem. So I grabbed my Logitech keyboard, which I normally use with my Mac Mini. I couldn't get the keyboard to do much. But the arrow keys worked, so that was the solution. If I combined the keyboard with the 8-bit Do Pro 2 controller, I could select a game with the keyboard, and then use the controller to play the game. This makes rapid fire possible. So, if the original Pac-Man controller breaks, I can still play these games. Nice. What happened next with the Pacman console was amazing. But that is another video. See the RCA home theater projector video to see how two gift ideas combine into something outstanding. Both videos are part of the 12 Days of Christmas Gift Ideas playlist. But even as a standalone gift, the Pacman HDMI Game Console is nice.